Here in the Situation Room is the House Democratic Whip Katherine Clark of Massachusetts. Whip Clark, thanks so much for joining us. So what are you with Hakeem Jeffries on this?
Absolutely. Listen, we know we're in a fight for the American people. And what the American people are telling us is that they are not making it economically. And I think that's reflected in CNN's polling. The terms I'm hearing from small business owners, from the mom who described that her husband who lost his job is now selling plasma so they can afford child care in this country. And what we are seeing in a effort by the Republicans to further rig the system against them, they are going to cheat and use every tool they can come up with in order to retain power. And we are going to fight back with the same fury and intensity. The gloves are off. There is no pretense here. They are decimating black political power in order to retain power and keep a system that works against the American people. So we are going to be strategic. We are going to be as aggressive as they are, and we are going to fight for the American people at this moment.
Democrats often argue that President Trump started this redistricting battle by urging Texas Republicans to gerrymander, as you know. But what do you say to voters who simply feel two wrongs don't necessarily make a right?
Yeah, well, we said to them when they came into Texas and started this partisan redistricting that don't do it. Let's disarm. Let's make sure that we let the voters choose politicians and not the other way around. But they know they are losing. The president's numbers on the economy, he has 70% disapproval. And they are doing nothing to change that through the policies that they are putting in place, whether that's the price of gas or groceries or housing or energy. They are doing nothing. So they decided on this course, and we have to meet them because we cannot let them continue to work against working people in this country by stealing elections.
A source is telling CNN that Jeffries' allies are preparing a messaging push against any Democrats who stand in the way of gerrymandering, insisting that only, quote, real Democrats are willing to fight. Will this issue become a litmus test in Democratic primary races?
You know, this is so beyond party politics. And I know, as I say, of the leader and a staunch Democrat, this is about the American people. And right now we're seeing attacks on black communities and their voting power. But this is about the voting rights of everyone. And what we are seeing is an effort from the Supreme Court down to state houses across the South to take away the political power of voters in order to continue to rig this economy against them. So this transcends party. This is about who will rise up in this moment, who is going to stand up for the fundamental right to vote and for an economy that should be working for opportunity for the American people. And at this point in time, that's the Democrats.
And while we're speaking, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, has been meeting with reporters. I want to listen in because he's talking about redistricting, and we'll get your reaction.
Their press conference this week ought to be interesting. Look, this decision doesn't change our posture for 1 minute. Republicans are laser focused. We don't look to the right or the left. We charge straight forward. Election day is less than 6 months out, and we're going to continue advancing policies that make America safer and more prosperous while highlighting the stark contrast between our two parties. And you heard it here this morning. This election is about one simple thing. It's a contrast between common sense, represented by the Republican Party, and crazy. And Democrats have given us yet another great example this last week that when they suggested disbanding the entire Supreme Court in Virginia and making the highest age where you can serve on the bench of the state Supreme Court 54. I mean, it's a joke. Instead of just taking their medicine and acknowledging defeat, they've actually become arsonists. I mean, institutional arsonists. And remember, this is the party that breathlessly tells you that they are for small d democracy. It is the opposite of that. Republicans are for common sense. Democrats are for crazy. And it's as simple as that. And we're going to continue reminding the American people of this every single day. So with that, I'll take a couple questions.
All right,
yes,
Congresswoman, what do you think? What's your reaction?
You know, every single election comes down to this. Do you see my family? and are you going to fight for me? And what we have seen from Mike Johnson and House Republicans and this president is not only are they not fighting, they are actively and aggressively hurting them. They've stripped away their health care and jacked up the price. They're closing rural hospitals as a result. They've taken away veterans' benefits, food programs, all of it. Now we're seeing gas prices through the roof. All of it to follow along and give money and tax cuts to the billionaire class. That is what Mike Johnson stands for. And he will turn a blind eye to corruption, to overtly racial redistricting in order to retain power. And to retain power for the very wealthiest of Americans. So we are in communities. We are talking to voters. We are fighting for their right to have opportunity, to have a solid floor and no ceiling on their success. And that starts with securing the right to vote so they can make up everything that they want. You can have the President of the United States yesterday say he doesn't think about Americans' financial security. We get the message. He is not looking out for the American people, and they are drowning. They are saying to us, we are not making it in this economy. We are going to fight for them at every turn, and we are going to fight to preserve fair and secure elections.
Let me play that clip of what the president said yesterday on this whole issue of affordability and the American people. Listen to this.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that matters.
I assume you agree that you don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, right?
Of course.
But what do you think about what else he said? He's not thinking about affordability right now.
Yeah, he never has. This is the fundamental betrayal of people who supported him. He told them he'd lower costs on day one. What has he done? He's imposed tariffs that have ruined the soybean market for farmers across this country. He's taken away people's health care, and we haven't even seen the worst of those cuts hit home yet, but we're already seeing hospitals close, people's premiums skyrocket. He's taken away food programs from people. He's dismantling our public schools. But what is he doing? With full pursuit, that's taking up all his time and energy, building a ballroom. $1 billion is what he proposed the American taxpayer when they are working so hard and have no breathing room. That's where his priority is. Everything comes back to how does Donald Trump personally benefit? It is the Gilded Age in his mind. And so whether it is policy in Iran driving up gas prices and further endangering our national security, he hasn't done one thing in Iran to help move us farther away from them ever obtaining a nuclear weapon. But what he has done is brought this home once again to working families. $1 billion a day that could be going to help people reduce the cost of rent and mortgages, expand housing, groceries, energy bills, child care. These are the issues the American people need us to be working on. And they are living in some world where it is all about the very wealthiest Americans. He's taking Elon Musk over to China. It is always about, from the day he was sworn in, that billionaire class and how the Trump family and Donald Trump can do better and bring his wealthy donors with him.
The Democratic Whip, and we know why you're the Democratic Whip. Katherine Clark of Massachusetts, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.